What is going on, everyone? DarkScheme here, bringing you something different. This isn't Halo 5, this isn't Call of Duty, but it is Halo, and it's Halo Reach. If you guys haven't played Halo Reach, it was one of the really fun games to play back on the Xbox 360. The reason I'm playing and talking about Halo Reach is because it is finally been put on the list for the Xbox 360 backwards compatibility. So if you have an Xbox One and you have bought Halo Reach digitally, or if you have bought it physically, you can put in your disc into your Xbox One. Your Xbox One will download the disc data, and you will be able to play Halo Reach in its entirety. And even if you have friends who still have Halo Reach on 360, you will still be able to play with them, party up, play whatever you want with Halo Reach. And it's really fun to see that backwards compatibility is really keeping communities together and even increasing them. Halo Reach, I believe, had about 15,000 players today when I hopped on, and that was I guess during prime hour, maybe a little bit after, maybe a little bit before. I'm not actually sure, but the great thing about it is that you get to go back and experience the campaign, the multiplayer, firefight, all those game modes in the way that each one was. Now, of course, it is a little bit different because the way that the backwards compatibility works is that the Xbox One has an Xbox 360 emulator. So the Halo Reach that you're playing on Xbox One will be an emulated version of Halo Reach. So some things are a little bit different. Honestly, playing campaign, you're probably going to have a good time. Playing multiplayer, on the other hand, if you're going to try and play competitively, you are going to want to get used to the game, because first match I played, I got completely destroyed and it was just embarrassing. Second game, I kind of adjusted, realized that of course I have these abilities and these things, and realizing that I can't thrust away like in Halo 5 and you can't clamber on things like in Halo 5, so I just had to get used to it here and there. And it's a very different game than what Halo 5 is. Sure, Halo Reach has those abilities like sprint, but in reality it is a very different game. The weapons are used differently, and with Bloom in the game, you have to use your weapons very sparingly. You can't just spam when you're a good distance away from enemies. You have to pace your shots a lot more than in any other Halo. But it was really fun to jump on, get that nostalgia feeling of playing Halo Reach, and overall I think it's a great way to bring the community together who are still on Xbox 360 and are holding on to the Xbox One, or somebody who has an Xbox One and is looking to switch over, but they don't have maybe too many Xbox One games. Either way, I think you guys will have a lot of fun with this, and hopefully we'll see Halo Wars come to the Xbox One compatibility, because it is a ton of fun, and having every single Halo on the Xbox One I think is the goal. So far, we have Halo the Master Chief Collection, which includes Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3, and Halo 4. And of course Halo 3 ODST, which is kind of like a side story Halo. Now we have Halo Reach with the backwards compatibility, and the only thing left now is Halo Wars to tie it all up. Honestly, I'm really excited to see what the 360 backwards compatibility can bring in the next wave, because there are actually a few good titles that are out now. And I have a ton of 360 games that I still have saved. I have not sold many of them, and of course they are collecting dust at the moment, so hopefully they will continue to grow that library of backwards compatible games, and hopefully Halo Wars is on that list, like I said earlier. Overall though, as far as the multiplayer goes in Halo Reach, it is very different. I'll be honest, I didn't have a ton of fun in the first game. This game though, as I was getting a few more kills, I was having a little bit more fun. It is, like I said, a very different game. And really, I don't know how tough it was to play, but I used to have a ton of fun with it. And now that we have Halo 5, it's just night and day. I think one of the biggest things to take away from Halo then and Halo now is that Halo now is 60 frames per second. Halo Reach is 30 frames per second. That is actually a big jump, and it's very noticeable when you're playing, when you're hopping online, and when you're actually trying to shoot people as well. For the most part, 360 was 30 frames, you didn't have to worry about anything, you just played, you had a good time. But now with Xbox One, everybody wants a more powerful system. They want to be able to play their games at 1080p, 60 FPS, high renders and all that good stuff. But things are limited. Things are very hard to play on the consoles that you want to play on, especially because things are slowly but surely getting developed on these consoles, and more often than not, a lot of games actually don't really go for 60 frames per second. If we look at Destiny, Destiny is a game which was for both old gen and new gen consoles, but it stuck to the 30 frames per second because of a quote-unquote cinematic feel to it, or a theatrical feel to it, in the way that the cinematics played out, and the way that the game played out. But overall, I feel like 60 frames per second was a great way to go for 343's part. 60 frames is very smooth. It's kind of an accurate representation of what a shooter should be on a console, and the fact that it's 1080p on Xbox One is a big deal. I mean, like I said, it's night and day going from this game to the other game. This game only runs at 720p, I believe, although my Xbox One resolution is set to 1080p and 60 frames per second, of course. You won't really see that. I recorded this gameplay at 60 frames per second, but you won't really be able to notice it because obviously Halo Reach is only 30 frames per second. And to be honest, there is a ton of things that came from Halo Reach that in reality I hadn't really looked into. First off, it was the first Halo Reach to include so many different game modes and so many different styles of enjoying multiplayer online. If you weren't a very PvP oriented player, you could hop on, play some Firefight with your friends. And if you were a more PvP oriented player, you were able to jump on, play some PvP, play some MLG playlist, play some arena, or just have a ton of fun playing Big Team Battle and all those fun and wacky playlists. But that is pretty much it for today, guys. Nice little trip down nostalgia lane. Hopefully you guys are able to check out Halo Reach with the backwards compatibility now out. What do you guys think about Halo Wars coming to Xbox One? It would be an awesome deal to have Halo Wars on Xbox One. It just complete the Halo collection on the Xbox One, so that's kind of a big deal for me. And what other games are you guys looking forward to? It doesn't have to necessarily be a Halo title. It can also be a different Gears of War game. Maybe even some more Deus Ex titles. I know Deus Ex Invisible War was one that I had a ton of fun playing back on the Xbox 360. I'll leave you guys with that question. And as always, I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching. And I will see you guys next time.